Welcome to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast, your guide to future tech trends and innovation in a language you understand. Now, over to your host, Neil Hughes.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Now, as you all know, I love my tech, but equally, I also know when to put that technology down and enjoy the great outdoors, or even go rogue now and again and completely disappear off the radar. But I'm equally fascinated by how businesses that you would never associate with tech, in fact quite the opposite, are using it to their advantage. For example, YogaTrail is a platform that connects yogis with their personal yoga world while helping yoga professionals to manage and grow their business. Now at YogaTrail, they are on a mission to empower yoga instructors, most of whom are actually female entrepreneurs. Now, although they're central to the yoga ecosystem, they're currently often neglected by all the apps and companies in that space, and as a result, many are struggling to earn a living through yoga. Now, they're also on a second mission to make the world a healthier and happier place at YogaTrail. Now, as a man that suffers from tech neck from looking down at screens too much, I'm interested in how yoga can help that. But more than anything, I'm interested by how tech and crowdfunding is helping to transform YogaTrail. So buckle up and hold on tight so I can beam your ears all the way to Spain, where Alex Klein from YogaTrail is waiting to speak with us all about his tech startup journey. So a massive warm welcome to the show, Alex. Can you tell me a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Hi, Neil. Great to be here. I am Alex Klein. I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called YogaTrail, which we call the Yoga Network, which is not very descriptive, but it's as short as it gets. And yeah, so what I do is I do CEO stuff for YogaTrail, which means talking to people like you, managing the team, figuring out what we're building, why we're building it, that kind of stuff.
Now, you did say that short description there, but I have read quite a few bite-sized descriptions about YogaTrail, my favourite including TripAdvisor for yoga lovers. But can you help set the scene and reveal what YogaTrail is, and also what makes it unique from any other yoga apps or yoga solutions out there?
Sure. We did start off as sort of a TripAdvisor for yoga, and that was, I think, something we used as a tagline when we launched 4 years ago. We are certainly not that anymore. I mean, it's part of it is that we have a massive yoga directory because we have a lot of yoga teachers and studios and various things that you can find on the site, but it's actually a platform that connects yoga professionals with their students and each other that helps them manage and grow their business. And for yoga students, it's mostly a platform to connect them with their existing teachers to get updates and notifications and things like that. So the thing that we started off as, the discovery part, is actually the smallest part of the platform now. And it's useful for people who are traveling, trying to find a new yoga teacher or a yoga class. But really, it's a network. It could kind of be thought of as LinkedIn meets Facebook meets WhatsApp for the yoga community. Because the yoga community really needs its own kind of network. It's a very unique community, very diverse, with special needs, I would say. And YogaTrail is that. And there really aren't any other platforms or networks out there like YogaTrail. There are a lot of people, of course, on Facebook. Lots of yoga teachers use Facebook, and for more than half of them, that's their entire online presence. And of course, it's totally dysfunctional nowadays, with Facebook not showing organic posts to followers or pages anymore at all. A lot of yoga teachers are just now catching on to that.
Yeah, that's always one of the dangers of actually having your business on somebody else's playground with somebody else's rules. It always bites you in the end. But I've got to ask, what was the story behind YogaTrail? I mean, where did that idea come from and the inspiration come from? And what made you want to go out there and turn this vision into a reality?
Sure. So my other co-founder, there are three founders here. One of them is actually my wife. We had a chance to travel around the world for 1 year back in 2008. And the first stop was India, where we got into yoga. So I'd heard of yoga before, but never really checked it out. And so we really got into yoga. And then we still had 11 months of traveling to do. And wherever we went, we were trying to find yoga classes. And it was pretty astounding, how difficult it was. using Google, and then B, what you would walk into thinking that you would experience something similar to what you experienced the day before, and it was, always something totally different and surprising. Because in yoga there are literally hundreds of different styles, and the community is crazily diverse. I mean, you have very esoteric hippie types who want to sit and look at a candle and meditate and maybe chant semi-religiously. And then you have high-powered lawyers and doctors who just want to get sweaty and stretch and get into shape, and everything in between. And so a few years later, we knew we wanted to do something entrepreneurial, some kind of startup. And I was actually a physicist at the time, and I was teaching science at a university and sat in on Web Entrepreneurship 101, which I could do as a professor. And the students had to come up with a project to pitch to sort of pretend investors, kind of like Dragon's Den at the end of that. And we came up with YogaTrail and pitched it just as part of this class. But in the audience was our third co-founder, Sven, who actually ran an agency that built massive websites for BMW and Red Bull and big clients. And he really liked the idea, and we partnered up and formed YogaTrail just a few days after that. That's the short story.
Now, it's often said, especially in the tech industry, that men completely dominate the industry. But what stands out from what you're trying to achieve here is the strong focus on female founders, with, I think, 88% of teachers being women. I mean, can you expand on that? It's a fascinating fact.
Yeah, yoga seems to be a thing. We think it's temporarily the case, but it's being embraced by women a lot more than men. So globally, it's roughly 70% female in terms of the people who go to yoga class. But for the teachers, it's even stronger the case that it's slanted towards females. And on our website, at least 88% of the yoga teachers are women. And so, yeah, the whole world is very female-centric. I am the CEO and I'm a man, but yeah, my co-founders are female, our employers are female, and it just happens to be female-centric. Now, we don't want it to be that. We're always doing things and running campaigns to try to encourage more men to get into yoga. But it's a female world, and it's also the case that yoga teachers, by and large, struggle to make a living in the West, for sure. But really everywhere, the States, all of Europe, Australia, it's difficult to make a living teaching yoga, ironically, because yoga has become very, very popular. And so the market is huge, but becoming a yoga teacher seems to have become even more popular. So the competition is fierce. There are lots and lots of teachers being certified, if you will, to be teachers every day, every month. And a lot of them are willing to work for very little money, even for free, to get started. And so they're having a hard time. Predominantly, yoga teachers have day jobs and then teach yoga on the side. But all the surveys that we run say that they would love to teach yoga full-time, but are not able to do that.
Now, I also read that you're a 500 Startups alumni with VC and angel backing as well. So it seems like an incredibly exciting time at the moment for you guys. But can you tell me a bit more about that as well?
Yeah, we're a startup in the traditional sense. We have taken money from investors, and we were very, very lucky to get into 500 Startups. So YogaTrail started in Thailand, actually. We happened to be there when we met, all three of us, to start YogaTrail. And then there's, especially in the Chiang Mai area where we were in Thailand, there is nothing there in terms of startups, certainly no investors, no other startups. And we applied to get into Y Combinator, which is sort of the premier accelerator for startups. And they actually invited us to come to San Francisco for an interview. So I flew for 28 hours to go to San Francisco, and I met the people at 500 at Y Combinator. Gave them a pitch. They said no. The whole thing took about 10 minutes. And so I was devastated. And I tweeted at Dave McClure at 500 Startups, and I said, hey, Y Combinator said no. I'm flying back to Thailand tonight. Want to hear a pitch? And it was sort of a desperate attempt to maximize the utility of this long trip. And I think partly because there's a bit of a rivalry between 500 Startups and Y Combinator, Dave McClure was like, sure, come on down. And I pitched a man, and that's how things got started. And we had to talk to a bunch of other people in their network. But then we were accepted into 500 startups, which was extremely exciting. So all of us spent 6 months in San Francisco, almost decided to stay there. But then in the end decided that it wouldn't make that much sense. There are a lot of startups in San Francisco, as I'm sure you know and your audience knows. I think there are currently around 18,000 of them. And while there are a lot of investors there too, it's just a very noisy environment. Everyone's screaming for attention. It's extremely expensive. So even if you raise $1 million or something, you can pretty much burn through that in a year or less with a very small team. So we decided at the end of that to go back to Thailand. We did raise some money. 500 startups invest as part of their accelerator program, and they followed on with another few $100,000. And then we have some angels from that area and people in India, people in Singapore, basically all over the world that have all invested in YogaTrail.
What a fantastic story that is, though. I love how, you think you've got your life or your business completely mapped out and you're getting on that 20-hour plane journey. It doesn't go how you thought it would, and you think that's the end, and then out of nowhere, just from the back of a tweet, everything changes, doesn't it? It's amazing.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, life itself is a somewhat of a roller coaster, but with a startup, it can go really extreme. And you get some good news, and you think, okay, we're going to be the next unicorn in the next year.
Yeah.
And then something terrible happens, and you think, okay, how are we going to survive? How are we going to pay the rent? How is this going to go on? And you would think that you kind of get used to it, but the swings get larger and larger, so you don't really get used to it.
Yeah, but you'd have it no other way.
True, yeah. I can't imagine ever doing sort of a normal job again.
No.
As an employee at some big corporation or something, no way.
So I'm passionate about sharing voices from all over the world, and especially because I've got listeners in 160 different countries. I think that I've got a big responsibility to interview people that have a universal appeal and not just inside Silicon Valley. And one of the reasons I invited you on today is that I've learned that you've got, I think, 50,000 yoga teachers using the platform now in over 100 different countries, and millions have already connected on the YogaTrail. So I mean, that response from the global community must make you feel incredibly proud, especially when you look back from that 28-hour plane journey a few years ago.
Yeah, it's certainly great. So we were based in Chiang Mai. Most of our users are in the States because that is where the yoga market is most developed. But indeed, we never focused on one particular geographic area when we launched. And it's just sort of been filling up with users from all over the world. At the moment, YogaTrail is in English only. I mean, people can write to each other and do various things in all languages, but the buttons and the menus are all in English. So I would say 80% of our users are in the States, UK, Australia, and Canada. But the remainder are in, I think, every country in the world. We even have a yoga studio in Antarctica as of a few months ago, which we're particularly proud of. I think it may be the only business in Antarctica. But there's some guy who has a research station who is inviting people to come do yoga with him.
So if there is anyone listening that practices or teaches yoga, or equally, maybe they're just a techie that's suffering from tech neck and wanting to explore yoga after looking down at screens for too long. I mean, can you just explain how YogaTrail works and how to get the most out of the platform?
Sure. So it's, I would say, mainly meant for people that are already practicing yoga and already have favorite teachers and studios. And for them, so teachers, I should explain, are generally, except for perhaps in China, but everywhere else, they are freelancers. They don't have a good contract with the studio, and they have frequently changing schedules. The average yoga teacher teaches at 3 different studios. Plus, they have things going on often in community centers and gyms, churches, parks. They do private one-on-ones at their house. They organize workshops in various locations. So yogis, that's people that do yoga, very often like to take classes with a particular teacher because every teacher has their own style, and teachers in yoga historically have a close connection with their students. A lot of them are kind of like life coaches. And so the platform allows you to follow your favorite teachers and studios and get all their classes and events aggregated into one view, so you can just basically go to YogaTrail and see your personal yoga world, instead of having to go to many different websites and searching through the schedules of different studios to find like your favorite teacher, when and where they're teaching. So that's what's in it for the common man, like the person who practices yoga. For professionals, it's a platform that gives them all the tools they need to communicate with their yogis, send them messages, post their classes and upcoming events, of course advertise in the local area and try to attract some new clients. They can take bookings and payments for classes, events, private lessons. They can even take subscriptions. So it's basically a tool set for yoga professionals that's comprehensive, because today a yoga professional might use Facebook to describe themselves and try to post their schedule. Of course, nobody sees that. But then they might have WhatsApp to communicate with a group of students. Many of them have MailChimp to send emails. About half of them make their own website. And all these various tools, we basically offer them for free on YogaTrail.
So to fuel the next level of growth, I believe YogaTrail is offering your community and the public a chance to get some ownership of YogaTrail too. So can you tell me more about that equity crowdfunding that you've got open on, I think, Seed Invest at the moment?
Indeed, and that's why I'm very happy to talk to you, hoping to get the word out. So we're actually net profitable. We're a tiny team making barely any money, but indeed it's enough to pay the rent. In 2017, we didn't lose any money. But we are also just scratching the surface of the yoga market. So we have, you mentioned 50,000 teachers, actually 60-some thousand now, and hundreds of thousands of members. But the yoga community numbers 300 million people. So most people have never heard of YogaTrail. And we really want to step on the gas now and get the word out and do some marketing. So we're raising money on Seed Invest, which is a crowdfunding platform, equity crowdfunding. So people can buy shares in companies on Seed Invest. And you'll find us there, and basically our deal and our company and all our metrics and our financials, everything is fully described there. If you go to seedinvest.com/yogatrail, you'll see us there. And the campaign is running until another 4 weeks, till the end of February.
So what is your grand vision for YogaTrail? If we get the Seed Invest that you're looking for, what do you want to achieve with it in long term?
So the grand vision is that basically anyone who's seriously into yoga, be a member of YogaTrail. Certainly all yoga professionals. Worldwide, basically world domination is the plan. And we financially speaking, we plan to have a good fraction of the world's yoga transactions moving through YogaTrail, which would generate us a lot of money. And our exit plan is to make it onto the stock market. Our mission really is to empower yoga teachers. So I mentioned that most of them are struggling to support themselves with yoga full-time, and it's because of the way that the yoga industry is organized. Right now it's very studio-centric or gym-centric, so yoga teachers are quite dependent on gyms and studios where they show up and then teach classes, and the studios handle the marketing and make sure that lots of people show up and these sorts of things, but they also take most of the money. And we think that yoga is particularly suited for this so-called sharing economy, and we want to actually transform the way the market is being run and give more power to the teachers and have them make more money with smaller classes, which then, again, would provide more opportunities for more teachers, because to serve 40 people, perhaps don't want to jam them into a studio where one teacher is teaching them all yoga, but perhaps have 4 different classes with 4 different teachers teaching 10 people at a time, where the yoga teacher can take most of the money, which then would still pay them more than they would get at this studio class, and would create more demand for yoga teachers.
Well, a huge thanks for coming on today, Alex. An inspirational story you've got there. But before I do let you go, can I just ask that you remind the listeners one more time of your website, social channels, Seed Invest, and contact details for anyone that just wants to find out more after hearing about your story today?
Happy to. We're at yogatrail.com. A lot of people say yoga trails with an S, and I hate that. Please do not go there. I think that's a website for hiking or something. The social media channels, I won't even mention because we're actually going to get off social media. We think it's a waste of time, not really working for us as a business. And our campaign is on seedinvest.com, all one word. And you'll just browse the companies there. You'll find YogaTrail, or if you want to go directly to seedinvest.com/YogaTrail.
It's interesting you're saying you're going to take a step back from social media, because you guys have quite a big following on Twitter and Facebook, etc., don't you, at the moment?
We do. When we started 4 years ago, Facebook was a very different animal. There was a lot of engagement and a lot of conversations happening.
Yeah.
And so we racked up around 200,000 followers fairly quickly. But nowadays we hardly post there anymore, and it's not working for us. Facebook has become an advertising platform where brands can pay Facebook to advertise things, usually products. Click here, buy this, and it doesn't make sense for us because our users are not really able to buy anything on YogaTrail. Almost everything is free, so a user is worth, I don't know, less than $1 for us. So we can't really pay for getting users. When we successfully fundraise, we're not going to spend the money on Facebook or Google. We're going to incentivize our own users to bring in other users with referral programs where basically teachers can leverage their students to bring them more students, and we can subsidize that. We think that's going to do much better. But yeah, so I personally left Facebook about a year ago, I guess when all the political situation was getting crazy in the United States. It's such a distraction and time waster. It's not what it used to be for people, I think, and for companies. I see more and more people leaving social media and realizing that these little dopamine injections they get when people like their selfie or comment on their thing are not worth it. I mean, people. I just traveled the last 25 hours, and so I was in a few airports. And I was flabbergasted looking at everyone with their faces buried in their phones.
Yeah.
Not seeing anything around them. It's a bit sad.
No, it really is. It's incredible to hear that refreshing and forward-thinking approach that you're taking, not only in your personal life, but as a business too.
Yeah. Well, so part of the problem for us is that Facebook is our competition. I told you that half of all teachers only use Facebook to manage their online presence and to communicate. And so, we want to tell them, hey, this isn't working for you. You should be using YogaTrail. And of course, we have to put our money where our mouth is. And we're planning to shut down our Facebook page sometime this year. We have a lot of things on our plate, but that's certainly going to happen too.
People often say that mindfulness and yoga is actually the best antidote for our tech-filled lives and staring down at screens. But what I love about what you guys are doing there is you're using technology in the right way to make YogaTrail the world's largest yoga network. I think it's fantastic what you're doing. I wish you the best of luck for the future. So let's stay in touch, and we'll follow your journey as you go too. So thanks for coming on today.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Take care.
I think we don't often associate technology with things like yoga. But I'm fascinated by how it has transformed Alex's business and uniting yoga lovers and teachers from all over the world. I mean, how fantastic is that? And tech does often get a bad rap in the media, but when used correctly, stories like this prove that it really does work best when it brings people together. In fact, I would argue that technology is actually uniting us all, and it's actually traditional media that has always divided people because, hey, a divided world is easier to control, and that's why they increasingly put people into different boxes. But hey, I'll put down my tinfoil hat for a few moments and ask you to get in touch and let me know your thoughts on today's show, and indeed anything we've spoken about recently. And if you have any questions or anything you would like me to feature on the daily podcast, just let me know. And as always, you can email me at techblogwriter@outlook.com, tweet me at Neil C. Hughes, and also catch all the episodes, see pics of the guests, and even record me a voicemail by dropping over at my site, techblogwriter.co.uk/podcasts. Now, all this talk of yoga's got me in a zen-like state, so I'm going to go put the technology down now, but I'll return bright and early tomorrow. So a big thank you for listening, and until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thanks for listening to the Tech Blog Writer Podcast. Until next time, remember, technology is best when it brings people together.